When driving in rain, you must A. Use low beam headlights. B. Use high beam headlights. C. Use parking lights. D. Use no lights. A. Use low beam headlights. In rainy conditions, you should use your low beam headlights. This sign means A. Slippery when tow B. Tow-away zone. C. Steep downgrade. D. Roadwork ahead. You want to back out of your driveway. You see children playing nearby. Before you start to move your car, you should A. Rev your engine to warn the children that you are moving. B. Sound your horn so the children will hear you. C. Walk to the back of the car to be sure the way is clear. D. Tell the children to stay away from the driveway. C. Walk to the back of the car to be sure the way is clear. When you back up a vehicle, look through your back window for pedestrians and other obstacles. Do not rely only on your mirrors, especially when children are near. Before you back into or out of a driveway, get out of the vehicle and check behind your vehicle. The act of turning your head and checking your blind spot before changing lanes, driving away from a curb, or merging your vehicle into traffic is A. A bad driving habit. B. A good driving habit. C. Unnecessary. D. Not necessary if you use the rearview mirror. B. A good driving habit. When changing lanes, it is important to check your blind spots. Do this by looking over your shoulder toward the next lane. Do not rely only on your mirrors.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
The best way to deal with tailgaters is to A. Speed up to increase the distance between you and the tailgater. B. Slam on your brakes to get the other driver to back off. C. Change lanes or gradually slow down to encourage them to pass. D. Ignore them. C. Change lanes or gradually slow down to encourage them to pass. Check the traffic behind you several times a minute to know if another driver is tailgating, approaching too fast, or trying to pass. If another car is following you too closely, slow down and let it pass. Most rear-end collisions are caused by vehicles following too closely. When driving near a blind pedestrian who is carrying a white cane or using a guide dog, you should A. Slow down and be prepared to stop. B. Take the right of way. C. Proceed normally. D. Drive away quickly. A. Slow down and be prepared to stop. When driving near a blind pedestrian who is carrying a white cane or walking with a guide dog, you must slow down, yield the right of way, and then proceed with caution. Be prepared to stop your vehicle in order to prevent injury or danger to the pedestrian. A third conviction of driving while intoxicated (DWI) or a third refusal to submit to a test determining blood alcohol concentration (BAC) will result in A. Loss of license for at least 3 years. B. An option to enroll in the Ignition Interlock Device Program. C. License suspension for 18 months. D. A night in jail and a fine of $500. A. Loss of license for at least 3 years. A third conviction of driving while intoxicated (DWI) or a third refusal to submit to a test determining blood alcohol concentration (BAC) will result in several legal penalties. The driver will have their license revoked and cancelled for a minimum of 3 years, have their vehicle and plates impounded, face jail time for up to a year, and/or be charged a fine of $3,000. If after 3 years the driver chooses to reapply for a license, they will face required enrollment in the Ignition Interlock Device program. Talking or texting on a cell phone while driving will not significantly increase your chances being involved in a crash. A. True. B. False. B. False. Using a phone while driving is a distraction that increases your risk of being involved in a crash. Which statement about speed is true? A. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. B. Speeding can kill. C. Speeding is not dangerous if you are a skilled driver. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. As speed increases, the chance of a fatality increases. If you are moving faster than 80 miles per hour, you have almost no chance of living through a crash. Driving more slowly than other traffic can also be dangerous because other motorists may become impatient and make dangerous moves to pass you. You are making a left turn from a two-way street onto a one-way street. When you have completed the turn, your car should be A. In the right lane of the street. B. In the center of the street. C. In the left lane of the street. D. In the lane with the least traffic. This road sign means A. You are about to enter a one-way street from the wrong direction. B. U-turns are prohibited. C. You may proceed if the way is clear. D. Come to a complete stop before proceeding. A. You are about to enter a one-way street from the wrong direction. If you drive past these signs, you are going the wrong way and are at risk of a head-on collision. You should cautiously turn around. Is it legal cross a double solid yellow centerline to pass? A. Yes. B. No. C. If there is no oncoming traffic. D. If the vehicle ahead of you is driving under the speed limit. B. No. Two solid yellow lines down the center of a two-way road mean that neither lane of traffic may cross the lines, unless they are turning off of the roadway. A driver can cross double yellow lines when turning into or out of a driveway or entrance to a business. No passing is allowed over a solid yellow line. This sign means A. Divided highway ends. B. One-way traffic ahead. C. Two-way traffic ahead. D. Keep to the right. D. Keep to the right. This sign indicates that you must keep to the right of the upcoming divider. At a school crossing sign, you should A. Always stop, whether there's a stop sign or not. B. Watch for children and be ready to stop. C. Always sound your horn when you see children. D. Be ready to help children crossing the street. B. Watch for children and be ready to stop. You must always yield to pedestrians who are in or about to enter a crosswalk. Be alert to pedestrians when driving across intersections or turning. This sign means A. There is a detour ahead. B. You must stop for flaggers. C. The road ahead is closed to traffic. D. The highway ahead is undergoing maintenance. D. The highway ahead is undergoing maintenance. Construction and maintenance signs are orange-colored and are used to notify drivers of unusual or potentially dangerous conditions in or near work areas. This sign warns drivers that they are approaching a construction zone and that they should prepare to lower their speed and drive with extraordinary caution. When approaching a flashing yellow light, drivers should A. Increase their speed. B. Come to a complete stop. C. Turn on their headlights. D. Slow down and proceed with caution. D. Slow down and proceed with caution. A flashing yellow light warns of a hazard. Slow down and proceed with caution. Which of the following statements about railroad crossings is true? A. It is against the law to go around lowered gates at a crossing. B. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger. C. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with flashing red signals and gates. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger, stop sign, or warning devices, such as gates or flashing lights. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with such devices. It is against the law to drive around lowered railroad crossing gates. This road sign means A. Do not enter. B. No parking. C. No U-turn. D. No left turn. C. No U-turn. This signs indicate that U-turns are prohibited in the location where it is posted. When you drive through an area where children are playing, you should expect them A. To know when it is safe to cross the street. B. To stop at the curb before crossing the street. C. To run out in front of you without looking. D. Not to cross the street unless they are with an adult. C. To run out in front of you without looking. You should always reduce your speed and use extra caution when children are in the vicinity. They may fail to understand the danger and may run out in front of you without looking. When a stop is required at an intersection and no markings appear to indicate a stop line or crosswalk, a driver A. Is not required to stop. B. Is required to slow down to make sure crossing traffic is clear. C. Should stop only at a place where they can see at least 200 feet on either side, even if they have to enter the intersecting roadway. D. Should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. D. Should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. If there is no stop line or crosswalk, you should stop at the point nearest to the intersecting roadway where you can get a view of approaching traffic. You should not enter the intersecting roadway to gain a better view. This road sign means A. All traffic must turn right. B. No right turn. C. All traffic must go straight ahead. D. A road joins from the right. D. A road joins from the right. This sign indicates that there is an intersection ahead. A road joins from the right. Pennant-shaped signs indicate A. School zones. B. No passing zones. C. Speed limits. D. Railroad crossings. B. No passing zones. Pennant-shaped signs usually indicate no passing zones. Text will also be on the sign to confirm that it is a no passing zone. You come to an intersection that is blocked by other traffic. You should A. Go slowly until the traffic ahead moves. B. Get as close as possible to the car in front of you. C. Stay out of the intersection until you can pass through. D. Sound your horn to make the cars move up. C. Stay out of the intersection until you can pass through. You cannot enter an intersection if traffic is backed up on the other side and you cannot get completely through the intersection. Wait until traffic ahead clears so you do not block the intersection. This is a fill in the blank sign. A. Stop. B. Wrong way. C. Yield. D. Do not enter. C. Yield. This triangular sign is a yield sign. When you see this sign, you must slow down to check for traffic and yield the right of way to pedestrians and approaching cross traffic. Stop only if it is necessary to do so. What should you do if your accelerator sticks while you are driving? A. Reach down and attempt to pull it up. B. Shift to park. C. Shift to neutral and apply steady pressure on the brake. D. Turn the engine off. C. Shift to neutral and apply steady pressure on the brake. If your accelerator sticks while you are driving, keep your eyes on the road. Quickly shift the vehicle into neutral and apply steady pressure on the brake pedal. Pull off the road when it is safe to do so and turn off the engine. Double solid yellow lines painted down the middle of the road mean A. Railroad crossing ahead. B. Pedestrian crossing ahead. C. Passing is not permitted from either direction. D. Passing is permitted from either direction. C. Passing is not permitted from either direction. Double solid yellow lines in the center of the road mean that passing is not allowed from either direction. You may not cross the lines unless you are making a left turn or passing pedestrians, bicyclists, and riders of scooters or skateboards when the opposite lane is clear and you can pass safely. How can you lower the risk of hydroplaning? A. Do not speed when the roads are wet. B. Use tires with proper air pressure. C. Replace tires with bad tread. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Hydroplaning happens when a vehicle glides on top of a thin layer of water between its tires and the road. Tires with low air pressure or bad tread can increase the risk of hydroplaning. Speeding also increases the risk. A single broken yellow line down the center of a two-lane road indicates A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. Yellow lines are used to separate traffic moving in opposite directions. Dashed lines indicate that drivers directly next to the line are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. If you stop at a railroad crossing with more than one track. A. Wait to proceed until you have a clear view of all tracks. B. Stop on the first railroad track and watch for another train. C. Go through as soon as the train passes. D. Go through when one of the tracks is free. This sign is used to prevent A. Entrance to full parking lots. B. Entrance to road construction areas. C. Entrance to dead-end streets. D. Entrances from the wrong direction on one-way streets and expressway ramps. D. Entrances from the wrong direction on one-way streets and expressway ramps. This sign warns that a road has one-way traffic and you must not enter from your current direction. Before switching on the ignition, you should A. Be sure only backseat passengers have buckled their seat belts. B. Be sure only adult passengers have buckled their seat belts. C. Be sure only child passengers have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. Develop a routine for entering and leaving your car. Before switching on the ignition, buckle your safety belt and see that all passengers do likewise. This green arrow on a lane use control signal means A. You may use this lane. B. No traffic is allowed in this lane. C. You have the right of way. D. You must merge into this lane. A. You may use this lane. A steady downward green arrow over a traffic lane means you may use the lane indicated. This sign means A. T intersection. B. Lane shifting. C. Side road. D. Do not block intersection. A. T intersection. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that they are approaching a T intersection and should prepare to turn either right or left. When driving on roads that may be slippery. A. Always drive at the maximum speed limit. B. Use cruise control to maintain a steady speed. C. Reduce your following distance. D. Do not make any sudden changes in speed or direction. D. Do not make any sudden changes in speed or direction. You should avoid making any sudden changes in speed or direction when driving on a slippery surface. Reduce your speed on slippery roads and do not use cruise control. When approaching a steady green traffic light, drivers should A. Continue driving, unless there are vehicles or pedestrians already in the intersection. B. Stop if a police officer is nearby. C. Treat the intersection like a four-way stop. D. Come to a complete stop before proceeding. A. Continue driving, unless there are vehicles or pedestrians already in the intersection. When approaching an intersection with a steady green traffic light, yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk and vehicles still in the intersection. You may continue driving, but should approach the intersection at a speed that will allow you to slow down and stop if the light changes before you get there. This road sign means A. No passing zone. B. Winding road. C. Pedestrian crossing. D. Low ground railroad crossing. D. Low ground railroad crossing. This sign indicates a low ground railroad crossing. Where this sign is present, railroad tracks cross the road at a steep slope and the bottom of low vehicles may drag or get caught on the tracks. When exiting a highway, you should slow down. A. On the main road, just before the exit lane. B. Once you see a toll booth. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. D. When you first see the exit sign. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. When exiting a highway, you should get into the exit lane well in advance. Do not begin to slow down until after you have moved into the exit lane. Coming to a complete stop at an intersection, yielding to cross traffic, pedestrians, and then proceeding through the intersection when the way is clear corresponds with A. A solid red light. B. A flashing yellow light. C. A solid green light. D. A flashing red light. When passing another vehicle on a road with two lanes traveling in opposite directions, you should A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. B. Remain in the left lane if you intend to turn left. C. Return to the right side of the roadway immediately. D. Drive in either lane. A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. When passing another vehicle on a two-lane roadway, you must return to the right side of the roadway when there is enough room between you and the vehicle you have passed. When preparing to turn left, drivers should A. Slow down gradually while checking their rearview mirror. B. Move into the left lane. C. Watch for oncoming vehicles and pedestrians. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. As you approach a left turn, signal your intentions 3 to 5 seconds in advance. Continually check your rearview mirror as you gradually slow down. On a multi-lane road, move into the left lane before reaching the intersection where you plan to turn. Yield to traffic and pedestrians and turn when your path is clear.